Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to episode 32 of my OpenTTD Series 10 Let's Play. Now, we're going to crack on with a new line, and I'm going to do an Explain-a-sode, where I absolutely and utterly explain everything I'm doing as if you didn't know anything. I like to change things around and do things in different ways sometimes, and I don't think I've done anything like this for a while, so we'll see how that goes. But before we crack on with that, I'm going to update you on what we've done in the recent live stream. And I need to tell you that on the 10th of June, I'm going to be doing my 10-year anniversary live stream. And that will likely, highly likely, include OpenTTD, public games and all that. Maybe viewer games and stuff. So, put that down in your diaries. 10th of June, it might just well be all day. It's going to be a massive celebration of 10 years of content creation from me. So, that being said, what did we do last time? So recently what we've done is we've been working on the vehicles area here, and last live stream we found this scrapyard, and this scrapyard was pumping out the materials, like loads of the stuff. So we made a little train route going across over here to the arc furnace, and we got scrap metal going into the arc furnace, which meant we could get the carbon steel out, and the carbon steel was being transported by train to this hub here that's called Attila the Hub. Now that's been named after one of my Viewer Plus subscribers, so thank you very much to all my Viewer Plus subscribers. You make all the stuff that I do possible. And if you want to know more about Viewer Plus, head out to the website masterhellish.net. And we're using this hub to split carbon steel and acid between the wire and section mill and this pipe and sheet mill over here and all that. And that's actually started to get some vehicles being produced. Things are moving along now. We can see that there's nothing in the station at the minute, but we've had to create quite a few trains to be able to take the vehicles on their journey, and quite a number of them are actually on their way, and we've had a delivery. So, what do we need to do today? Well, today we need to work a little bit more in this area. One of the things, like I just said, we added was this bunch of stations at this electric arc furnace. Now, we've got stuff going into the electric arc furnace, and we've only got one thing coming out. The other thing is stainless steel and slag. Now, I don't know if we need the slag. We probably will later. But this stainless steel is actually useful for something that we need right now, because over on the other side of this over the other side of FedEx Lake, we've got this component factory. Okay, and this component factory needs stainless steel. So component factory is one of the four main things that you need to make the vehicles. Okay, so you can see that we're supplying two other things. We're supplying plastics and electrical parts, but we're not doing alloy steel, and we're not doing stainless steel. Well, we've got some stainless steel being produced and not transported. Well, I say being produced. It sat there. 322 tons of it going nowhere. So how are we going to get it from here to here? And this is where the Explain-a-sode kicks in. So, I've told you what we're going to do and where things are. The objective here is simply move one resource from one factory to another. I say factory, one industry is what I meant to say. So from the electric arc furnace to the component factory. Okay. Now, one of the first things I do is I plan a rough idea of the route. Okay, so I look at the lay of the land. If there's any like lakes in the way, am I going to go around them? Am I going to build bridges over them? All that sort of thing. Also, are there any ginormous hills? How are we going to deal with that? Again, are we going to go round, or are we going to dig through? Are we going to dig through a bit and put tunnels? Are we just going to have to avoid that? And also, are there lots of railway lines already existing that we're going to have to go through and around? So, for this particular example, we've got to go from over here, and we've got all this railway infrastructure here where my mouse cursor is. If I just get maybe the bomb tool, it'll make my mouse cursor easier to see. So we've got all this infrastructure here to avoid. Now, I don't want to have to go through it because we've already had situations where we've got lines going in and around and under, I really want to avoid most of this somehow. So maybe we come off down here to the south and round. But if we do that, we're still going to hit all this infrastructure. And then we're going to get into this open land, which could be good, but then there's a lake. So we'd have to go further round, and then there's this big hill along the coastline, and then to where we need to go. That's kind of one way of looking at it. But if we come out of the top, so we have like a station somewhere over here, and go around this way, what is the situation? Well, we've got this hill, but it's not too bad. We could probably deal with that. And then we've got this lake. Now, if we wanted to, we could transfer to a ship and then ship the items across the lake and in there, rather than trying to get a railway line in. Or we could actually bring the railway line across this opening and, oh, careful with the mouse, and then down this coastline and across. Now, for pure efficiency, you would probably want a railway line all of the way, because trains are quicker, they can generally carry more than some of the boats, so why wouldn't you use a train? Because you get more money. You get more money because if you travel further and quicker, you get more money than slower and shorter. Simple. But in this case, as I often do, I'm not going to do the kind of OP kind of best thing to do, because I like to mix it up a little bit. I like to do things that are a bit different and quirky. I kind of like the idea of this lake being absolutely full of ships going in all different directions, and flooding it out. Now, one of the things that ships are good at is infinite throughput. For example, over here, we have a very large number of ships waiting to pick up stuff. And it doesn't matter. You can have as many ships there as you like. They're not going to crash into each other. They're just going to sit there overlapping each other at the port. It's not very realistic, but it's one of the only real big benefits of ships. In fact, I would say it's the only large benefit of ships. If you can think of another large benefit of ships, it's either not a large benefit, it's a small benefit, or maybe I haven't thought of it. But anyway, infinite throughput. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to come across the top here, because even though there is a hill, it's not a massive hill, and there's no railway infrastructure for me to deal with, and then I can go across my lake. So I've decided on the rough route I need to take. The next thing that I would do is build a station at each end to take that. So we've got to get a station that's in the catchment of this arc furnace. So if I just get a default station and I just pressed X on my keyboard, that toggles the transparency. Now, if you want to change what things go invisible and what don't, is that English? I don't know. Do Control and X, and it brings up the transparency options. You can see I've got these little locks on some of the things, and you can see when I press X that they toggle. So you can see this industry doesn't go transparent. If I could do Control click on that industry, then when I press X, it will toggle with the trees. You can see it's going transparent. I can lock that so it doesn't go transparent, and that's how I quite fancy it right now. So we're going to put a station in. I'm going to do a 4-track 12-length station. Why? Why am I going to do 4 tracks? Why am I going to do 12 lengths? Oh my goodness, this is going to be a long episode, isn't it, for 1 track? I hope you're enjoying this. So, 4 tracks. In my opinion, you need a minimum of 3 when servicing an industry. And that is because when trains are moving in and out of your station, think about it. There's 3 different things that can be done at the same time. Like, you can load a train, you can have a train leaving, and you can have a train arriving. And if you've got those 3 things happening all at the same time, you will always have a train loading. Now, always having a train loading is important. Okay, it's important to have a train there all the time because it's going to give you better ratings. You're going to pick up more stuff. It's just a really good idea. Okay, so why have more than 3? Well, if you have more than 3, you can actually have more than 1 train loading at once. So a train will load and it will reserve the cargo that's coming from the industry. If the industry is providing cargo quicker than the speed of which a train loads at, then another train can start loading even if the other train hasn't finished. So having a fourth platform gives you that extra little buffer on top of the 3-platform technique. Now, of course, if you've got an industry that's absolutely pumping it out, you may need even more platforms than 4. But I feel with what we've got set up here, 4 would probably be good. And we're going length 12 because longer trains making fewer trips just seems more efficient. In many ways it is. It's quite complex, the calculations in the background, I believe, compared to how long a train is, compared to how much income it makes, compared to 2 trains of half the length, and all this sort of thing. Going a certain distance with a certain cargo will yield different amounts of money with different train lengths. But as a general rule, if you're moving a lot of stuff, do it with long trains. Okay? And 12 is the maximum we've got in this particular setup. I believe the default for OpenTTD is 7. Now, I want this station as far away from the industry as possible. This is going to allow me to build plenty of track around the station for any sort of planning or future things. Now, looking at this, I'm actually going to struggle to get it exactly where I want it. You can see that if I put my cursor over here, I'm not getting any of the information. Just above my head here, you can see it says supplies. That says supplies, limestone and sand. That's this industry over here. We don't care about that. It's the stuff down here where it says supplies, carbon steel, slag, and all that sort of stuff. So the furthest I can be away and still accept that is here. But if I put my station in, one of the platforms of the station is actually going to... Oh, hang on a minute. No, look. Oh, God. The city's in the way. Could I work around that city? I think I can. You know what? I'm going to put it in, and I'll show you. The local authority refuses to allow it. Okay, so these guys aren't very happy with me. You can see that they think I'm appalling. It's probably because of all this infrastructure and stuff that I've been putting in. Every time you delete things, especially trees, they get annoyed at you. But we're going to just fix that by planting some trees. There we go. So, you can't, if you plant trees on top of trees, it does cost you money, but it doesn't affect your rating as far as I know. So I can see there's some gaps here. I will put some trees in there. Put some trees in these gaps over here. And you can see our rating's gone up to very poor. I think if you're very poor, you can put 1 station in. But if we keep going, you can see it goes up to medium. So there we go. Jobs are good. And we can go back in and put our station in. Right then. Station, station, station. Where's the station? There's the station. Now, in this Let's Play, we've got not only the default stations, but we've got the British station platforms, which are really good for passengers. And we've got the ISR stations. Now, if you don't know what these are or how to use them, don't worry. They're just aesthetic. There's no functional difference. So, we're going to be picking up carbon steel. I'm going to choose something in here where I feel that looks a bit like it. Not wood loading. That's no good. What about a good station B? Why not? What's this one? Good station low. You know what? Let's go with that one for a change. So let's get that station in there. The local authority will allow it now. Boop. And there it is. So this industry actually has the corner of the square missing, which means I can put in the track that I wanted. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do that, but I can. And what I like to do is I like to have a little turnaround here. Now this sharp corner down here will slow most trains down because it's a your train is turning twice within its train length. But as you're slowing down to enter a station anyway, I don't think it really matters because trains do need to decelerate and accelerate going in and out of stations. So I think these sorts of sharp corners going to the stations don't really matter too much. If this becomes a problem in the future and we need more throughput, you can actually easily solve this by adding an extra section like this. And then having these 2 lines joined together somehow. Kind of like that. And then have a signal back here so that a train can decide, oh, I'll go to one of those 2 platforms, or I'll go on to one of those 2 platforms. And that way, you've got 2 corners where the train can go round. And it actually really improves, like it's a big upgrade to this initial station design. But I don't think we're going to get that sort of throughput on here, and if we do, the modification's easy to make. So that's what we're going to do. Now, this is going to be a row station, which means roll in, roll out, I think, for most people. There are a few different ways that people pronounce that, and I think there's some people that call it something else as well in different parts of the world. But that's what we call it here. Because it's a roll in, roll out, we're going to have a signal at the front here, okay, which is fine. But as soon as you connect up these platforms at the end to one piece of track, the whole station becomes one signal block. And a train sat here at this signal will not go into the station unless... well, it just won't go in the station unless there's no trains there at all. So what we do is we need to divide these platforms up from this section here. So it's this bit of track here that causes the problem. This highlight bit of track. This highlighted bit of track is connecting up each of those 4 rails and the platforms as well. So it's connecting up the 4 rails and the 4 platforms, making it all one block, which means only one train will go in it at once. If we put signals here, then each platform is now its own block, because within that section, because those signals have split the sections up, it's only one. It's only one signal. It's only one section there. This bit over here, the other side of these signals, that's still one block. Okay, all this bit back over here is still one block, which is why only one train can leave the station at once. But there you go. I mean, if you had a second exit, something like this, you might get 2 trains using this block at once, but we won't worry about that right now because we're not doing that. Okay, so that is the stations, that is the route, that is the platforms. What else? Well, I like to provide my stations with depots. So it's a good idea, as a general rule, to have a depot right before your station. It gives your trains an opportunity to service if they need to, because if a train goes past a depot, then decides it needs to service, it'll go through the station without dropping its goods off and down the line to find another depot. So I'm going to put a depot in here. And that's really the closest I can put my depot. I could look at potentially putting a depot in here. Actually, that works relatively well. Would that work okay? Okay. If we were playing with 90 degrees turns on, 90 degree turns, so then let me show you a proper 90 degrees turn. That is a 90 degrees turn in this game, this bit here, okay? By default, you're allowed to do those turns. Trains will go around them. But whenever I play in my community, we always turn that off. It's a popular thing to turn that off. And if I wanted to put a double depot in, and we'll talk about double depots in a second, there would end up being a 90 degree turn here, which is why I don't use that. So I guess if you're playing with 90 degrees turns turned on, you could put them there. Right, so I said double depot. Why? What's a double depot? So that's a depot, just a depot sat on a line. That's a double depot. So a double depot, when placed the other side of a path signal, will allow one train to come out of a depot while another train can come and go in a depot. So you pretty much double your depot throughput by having 2 depots. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't have 2 depots. What you do have to do is take out this piece of track here. I call it the forbidden bit of track. And the reason for that is, if a train gets lost in between the 2 depots, it can actually end up going backwards and forwards between the 2 depots and just staying lost. Where if you get rid of that piece of track that isn't being used by any legitimate train, it's not needed, but the game puts it in anyway, then any lost train in this section will be forced to carry on because of the one-way signals that we've got here. And it might even start finding its way. At least it won't block the depots. Okay, so here we've got a situation. We've got to get around this stuff here. And we could kink the track and go over this. We could potentially try and bulldoze the hospital, which I don't think the town would like. Having said that, I don't care about this town. Like, there's nothing about this town that I... Oh, well, our ratings are appalling, so I don't think we're really going to be able to delete a hospital, and let's use this land query information tool. What's that? So we've got some cottages and a hospital. Although the hospital would count as one thing. I want a nice straight line. You know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go. We're going to go crazy with the trees and see if it works. Just because I would like the line to be straight. I think we could get away with it not being straight. So let's see. The town now thinks we're just very poor. I don't think they're going to let us get rid of a hospital for that. We've got loads of money in the bank account, so trying to get all these trees in is not going to cause any problems. You can see the best we're getting to now is just poor. So if I try and bulldoze the hospital, it's going to say no. The cottages, no. What we could do, because we've got loads of money, is actually try and bribe the local authority. So bribing the local authority will make our rating go up, but we can get potentially found out. I don't see that being a problem right now. So either we bribe them and we can delete it, or we bribe them and we can't, and we come up with a different plan anyway. Let's do it. Okay, our ratings are medium now. Let's see. They still refuse us to get rid of the hospital, and they still refuse the cottages. Okay, let's go in for another bribe. Okay, that bribe worked. We can get rid of the cottages. Can't get rid of the hospital. One more bribe, and hospital's gone. Okay. So it took 3 bribes. Normally you wouldn't do that because it costs a lot of money, but we've got loads. We've got loads of money. So, double depot on the exit, because if a train sat there loading for quite a long time, it might decide it needs to service sometime soon. So it's better to give it the opportunity to service and then go on down the line. You may want to decide to bring your depots off the line, but we're not doing that right now. I'll show you off the depots later. Off the line depots. And we're going to do signals. Now, my signal spacing is 2 because we're not playing with infrastructure maintenance turned on. So if you look in the money section, go to infrastructure. It tells you about your infrastructure, but you can see here that there's no cost. Now, this is by default, but if you're playing a game where that has been turned on, you probably want to space your signals out a little bit more because they cost you money to place and they repeatedly cost you money constantly every month. But we've not got that repeated cost all the time. So having your signals close together allows your trains to travel closer together and you get more throughput down your line. So there we go. 1 station. What, 22 minutes into the episode and we've done 1 station. We've actually done a lot. We're going to go all the way over to where the other station's going to be. So it wants to be somewhere on this coastline. I'm not exactly sure where. I think what we'll probably do is use this bit of land here. It's nice. It's quite flat. We'll just take that little corner out. And we'll put a brand new dock in. There we go. So we got that brand new dock in. And then we're going to build a station that's extremely similar on the other side. So the dock and the station can't be further apart than a spread of 12. So I'm going to leave us a gap of 4. Go out 4. And holding control brings up this extra option. And this is so that we can spread the 2 stations and they become just 1 station. Using spread stations as a general rule is good for exactly this sort of thing. So you've got a dock and you've got a railway, but you might want to get some track between them. That's what we might do. I'm leaving a bit of space in case we want to get that track there. I haven't decided yet. But also spread stations can be used to cheese catchment areas and get more passengers and stuff. So in a lot of games, that can be disabled, but it's not disabled by default, and there are legitimate reasons why you'd want to do it. So I'm going to connect it up to the docks, and in this case, we're going to go in this direction with our track, just because that's how I feel I want it to go. I'm going to do the exit slightly different, because if we go straight, we're going to hit this river right away. So we need 1 piece of track on the end of our platform so we can put those signals in that I spoke about before. The ones that turn each platform into its own signal block. And then I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to come out diagonal, just like straight out diagonal. Okay, and then this one will meet up with it and go diagonal as well. Now the downside with doing that, for me, is that we're not going to be able to fit a depot on the exit. Which is, you know, it's alright. It's not the end of the world, okay? I don't really care too much about that because this is a drop-off station. So that means the trains will be coming along up to the station. They'll have the opportunity to service here if they need to. and then they come into the platform, drop off, and they're gone. There's not sat around loading. So the odds of them needing to service whilst they're in this little area is relatively low. It's nearly always a good idea to have your depots before the station. It's usually a good idea to have depots after the station if it's a pickup station. Having said that, if you're playing with breakdowns turned off, then it doesn't really matter. You just pop a couple of depots on at some point of the network so that you can upgrade your vehicles and add new vehicles to the network. So now we've done each end, we're going to then connect up the track. So ideally, you would just go diagonally straight between the two. The more direct the line, the better, because if the line's direct, you're going to get there quicker. If you get there quicker, you make more money. If your line is indirect, you're going to take longer to get there. Say you wiggle out one way and then wiggle out back again. You can take longer and you get less money. So we want at least to give that a go. Now, looking at the way that the land is, there's a kind of peak in the hill over here, and a little bit of a peak in the hill over here and here. So I'm thinking if we can get between those peaks with a little furrow, I don't really mind too much about this river, then that would be really good. So let's have a look. So the gap between this peak and that peak is about 9. So if we... I think the track's going to go through here. So I'm going to come out from here, and I'm going to lower it down 1, and then lower it down 2, and leave enough room for 2 pieces of track. So I'm using the keyboard shortcuts Q, W, and E for the land tools. Most of the time, you just use E, just use the flatten tool. So here we can actually have a little divot in the top of the hill, and hopefully bring that little divot out to a point where our track can connect up to it. So where is our track's over here. Okay, that looks like it might be alright, and then I'll worry about this side afterwards. So this river's going to have to go. It's in our way. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this back a little bit, like this. Now the reason for that is that if a train goes up one incline within its train length, as a general rule, it doesn't affect its speed. If it goes up multiple, then it probably is. And we want to try and not have our train slow down. So our train lengths are 12. So that means that either side of this incline, we want to have no other inclines. So again, we've got a length 12 here. If we want to get our train line down to the point that we can connect up, that's fine. I think we're all right just to carry on a little bit more and come down to here. And then we can go diagonal and link it up. Yeah, looks like we'll be alright. This river's in the way. It doesn't really go anywhere because we've already taken out that. We've got lots of money, so I'll just clear that all out. Okay, and then we're going to go diagonal from the bottom of the hill. Ooh, look at that. That's a bit close for my liking. The diagonal's too close to the station. Ideally, I want the train going straight for a little bit. Ideally, long enough for its own train length before then it turns. So, what we're going to do is we're going to adjust this bit of track over here. We're going to go the minimum of 12 before having an incline, and we're going to push the hill back to that incline. So there's the incline. So we've got these 2 inclines, and the gap between them is 12, the same as our train length. Then we're going to do a little cut this way and go diagonal. Now you can see how if you scroll around that it just does squares. I know it's kind of diagonal on the screen, but we call it square. If you hold control, that is then when you get this other diagonal way of doing it. Okay, so we're going to go diagonally across here. And we'll go like this. And that's really the best I feel we can do, unless we push this hill back. But I think that's going to be okay. There we go. So what have we got here? We've got length 10. It's not ideal, but you know what? It's close enough. That'll do. So we come across and we've hit the bottom of the hill. We've gone up and over. We've done a little bit of carving, but we've also done a little bit of not carving. And now we need to figure out the other end. So 1 level down brings us here. 2 levels down brings us here. So we've got to get up to this level. Roughly at the point that we're going to connect that up there. This is going to be a little bit tricky. Always going up the notches of hills and so forth is a pain. So ideally what we're going to do is we're going to start over here. And we're going to do a little bit of cutting. That's length 10. You know what? That will do on this occasion. We'll have a length 10 here, and then we'll go up. Then we've got this great big river, which is a pain in the bum. I guess we're just going to have to go through it. Which is a little bit sad. I wanted to avoid that, but never mind. So let's do that. There we go. Each bit of the river can exist as its own little ecosystem. Boom, boom. These ones are going to make sure that they're at least length 12. There we go. And then we need to go up again and then meet this. So let's straighten that up out a little bit more. So up again? Do we need to go up again? That goes down one to this, to that height? Oh, we don't need to go up again, I don't think. Okay, we just need to keep going. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, we did need to go up. We did need to go up. How are we going to do that? Should we do it actually at the corner? I don't want to do it at the corner. Yes, we're going to do it at the corner. So we're going to go down here and then straight into our diagonal there. There we go. That's okay. That's not too bad. Get rid of this little... No, we'll leave that little pond. We'll leave the pond. Okay, so now we've connected up the two bits of line. We can put our signals. So the way to do that is click, drag, and hold control. And if you just click and drag, it will only do signals where you dragged. If you hold control, then it will do the entire line up to the next junction. And because we've got no junctions, jobs are good. Okay, now we've got... with that length of line, you kind of have to decide if you need depots in the middle. I'm going to say it would probably be nice to have some depots in the middle, but it would also be awkward to do because of this embankment and the hills here. Although, we might actually be able to use that to our advantage. Okay, let's try doing something. So I'm going to say I want a depot in roughly here. Is that going to be long enough? Maybe. Okay. And then what we're going to do, we're going to push the land height up, do some tunnels, and then bit of track like this. So the idea here that I'm doing is I'm building up some off the main line depots. And when they're off the main line, we don't need the through track, and we also don't need the forbidden piece of track. Now the next question is, can I get this along here and down in time? So let's see, how long was that? That's 9. So if we go 9 each way, 9. And then we need to go down. So if we just dig that little bit there. Kind of making this bit up as I go along. I don't think I've done it like this before. Now, there is one bit that is not good I've noticed right away about this design. And that's we've got an incline here. And then if the train decides to go to the depot, it's got another incline. Which is not good. But never mind. I'm going to, again, just ignore that. And I think we want it to go right up to here as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, length 12 before we go into the depot. Okay. You know what? I'm going to allow it on this occasion. Ideally we wouldn't want that. Ideally, we would want a gap in the land height change. But I'm going to just leave it for simplicity. Hopefully this line's not going to be too busy where that really matters. I like this look. I like the kind of like lower level line with the tunnels and the depots on top. It's something that I might use in future. It's kind of, I think it's the kind of reverse of the humpy depot. Again, here we've got 10, so we want at least another 2. And then we'll head into the main line. There we go. We need signals, so we're going to put signals going in before the depots. and then we'll put a signal before the train rejoins the main line. There we go. And that's all the signals we need. Okay, so we've got some depots in the middle. I kind of like the little design that I've done, even though it's not perfect. This side's fine, because there's no other up and downs. But unless I was to either move this further along, which I don't want to do because the hillside gets bigger, or move the track further this way, I don't want to do that either. So we'll see. Anyway, they're done as well. The next thing we need to do is get the ships and trains on here. So let's have a look. We've already got a shipping depot here, and we've also got a shipping depot here, and we've also got a shipping depot here. Now, I like to use shipping depots as buoys because ships can just go to them. They don't really slow down. They kind of do for a fraction, but yeah, it's a good way of moving your ships around because if they want to service, then they're next to them anyway. Infrastructure maintenance might be a thing. If you're playing with that turned on, you might decide not to do it. Right, let's start with the trains. So I'm going to come in at this depot. And we need something to pick up something. What are we picking up? We are picking up carbon steel. Okay, so we go new vehicles. We decide on what train we're going to use. I'm going to use the SH8P because it has a good reliability and a good speed. And also it has relatively good pulling power compared to the other vehicles. There are diesel trains, but the reliability is worse and the speed is the same. Now it has got a little bit more pulling power, which means it will accelerate out the stations a little bit quicker. But for now, I'm going to stick with the steam engine, I think, because I like them, and we'll upgrade them all later when a much better diesel comes out. So there's our engine. Also in the new vehicle screen, we need to be able to pick up the stuff. So we're going to be picking up our carbon steel. Use this cargo types drop down. It helps with the refitting, even in vanilla OpenTTD. So carbon steel, select that. It will show you everything that can carry carbon steel, and then you can select it and buy and refit. It will automatically refit as you buy it, and we're going to keep going until we've got a train that's 12 in length in total. Then we're going to tell it to pick up over here. I'm going to click hold control as I click. And the reason for that is I want it to be full load, and the reason why I want it to be full load is you get better ratings, because if cargo's sat around on the platform for a while, your ratings go down. And the reason why you want ratings is because the more ratings you have, the better you get stuff from the industry. Also, you want this transported number to go up in vanilla OpenTTD. In vanilla OpenTTD, you want that transported number to be really high, because then the industry has a higher chance of increase in production. Right, so that's our one train there. I figure we're going to need at least 4 trains. We've got 4 platforms, so we know we can handle it. And then there's going to be trains making a journey there and making a journey back. So we'll start with 4, and if we need more than 4, then we can get more later. So we'll set them going. Now in this play, we've got build while pause turned on, so nothing's coming out. That's fine. There's so many trees around here because I had to bribe the local authority to put that railway line through a hospital. And then on this side, we need the boats. So I say boats, it's really ships. So this one's a little bit more complicated because of the mods that we got installed, but I'm going to do a similar sort of thing. This time I'm going to organize by speed, maximum speed, because ships are slow. Really, like some of them are terribly slow. So I want to offset that as much as I can and then find one that is quite reliable. Normally I go for reliability as a general rule, but not always. So if we go to the bottom here, you can see that this particular one is 72 kilometers an hour. However, we can't refit it to what we want. We need to use this cargo types. If we change it to carbon steel, it will filter the list. Only these ones can carry carbon steel. And you can see that this one at the bottom is a 42 kilometers an hour vessel. The one above it is also 42. The one above it is also 42. And that one's 42 and that 42 and that 42. But if they're all 42, ideally we want the ones that can carry the most, or quite a lot. So that one's got a reliability of 86. That's good. That one's 84. Not so good. And that one is 93. Even better. But it doesn't carry as much. It carries 270 tons. So I feel like we'll go with this freighter. It carries the most, has a good reliability, and the speed is the same as the top 3 there. So we're going to buy and refit that ship and give it some orders. Now, I haven't finished the train orders yet. If you're already typing in the comments, you forgot to transfer, we'll get to that. So we're going to go to the docks, again hold control to full load, and then I'm going to tell it to go to these depots as kind of waypoints. So we're going to go to this one, then we'll go to this one, and then we'll go to this one, and then we'll go to the actual dock to deliver what we need to, and then we'll do the same on the way back. We'll go to that one, we'll go to this one, and finally back to that one. Okay, so that one's orders are all done. How many do we need? I have no idea, but I'm going to clone it so that there's 4 of them to start with. They can carry a lot. So that'll be okay. Hopefully we can get enough deliveries so that the industry over here counts as being supplied on a regular basis. If that's not the case, we might need to change out for smaller ships. And the smaller ships will mean that we get more regular deliveries, and then they're supplied. And we want all of these to be marked as supplied every month, because for the maximum production rate, you need to supply all of the required cargoes at least once every 3 months. So as long as we get one of those ships arriving once every 3 months, we'll be alright. But we might need to get to a smaller capacity ship. Right, let's go fix that train order. So over in the depot, we've got these trains. And thank goodness I'd use shared orders. If you don't use shared orders with your trains, learn how to use it. It's important. Oh, did I just not do the order at all? Brilliant. Okay. So I told it to go to this station and load, but then I haven't told it to do anything else. What it needs to do is come down to our docks and unload, and it's actually going to be transferring the stuff at the docks. So you want to go to this option and choose transfer. So it's going to transfer and leave empty. It's going to dump everything it has at this station and leave. And that's where the ships will then pick it up. And there we go. That is that all done. So we're going to now unpause the game. We'll come over here. We'll hear loads of vehicles breaking down, of course. We've got our forest that's hiding all of our trains. And our train is going to start loading these resources. At the minute, there's not going to be a massive amount of tons of stainless steel. Have we got a statue of the company owner in this town? Yep, it looks like we have. But these vehicles will be slowly loading. So that one says 0%. Nothing's been brought through at the moment. Hopefully we'll get something soon. Right? There we go. There we go. It's gone up to 4%, 6%, 8%. The trains are loading. Trains will come down the track, and they will offload here at the docks where the ships are already waiting, and the ships will transfer that all the way down here to our component factory. And there we go. One brand new line in our network with as much explanation about what I'm doing as I could probably muster right now. I hope you've enjoyed this special Explain-a-sode. Let me know if you want more like it, and if you do, what you would like the topic to be on. So this one was a railway line which transfers to a ship. Let me know if there's any particular requests you've got. But join me next live stream where we're probably going to be working on some... Well, I can't remember what it was, but we're going to be getting the rest of these resources sorted out. So we'll probably look at things like alloy steel, and we'll probably start looking at getting our engine plant going as well. But that is going to be all from me for now. Thank you very much for watching, and until I see you next time, goodbye.